Welcome back, everyone, to Hearts of Iron 4 Mod Spotlight. And as you probably have realized, today we are looking at a great meme. So essentially, Kaiserredux, we've already seen it. It's actually bugged. there's a state in Poland that's empty. Anyway, we've already looked at it because it came out a while ago, but it's received a pretty big update. So I suppose a quick look at this is sort of very well justified. So essentially, what this update focuses on is Russia. Except there's a few other changes, a few other paths essentially that are added now. In case you don't know about this mod, it's essentially it's kind of a meme mod, quote unquote. It's got a lot of wacky paths. So if you're not into that sort of thing, you're not gonna like it all that much. But essentially, it sort of again aims to modify Kaiserreich by having more wacky, insane paths. Such as, Serbianist France being, full-on, basically Nazi, fasci, kind of thing, with North Korea kind of vibes. So, the re-education camps and all that. So that's basically about it. There's a ton of great art, and also it tries to bring back some of the more sort of more kind of out there things that have been removed from Kaiserreich, such as we'll see what they did to Mongolia in this video. So essentially, the main focus again is Russia and all the Russian-y countries, like Transamur, and Alashorda is not a Russian nation, but they also got a bit of a rework, and also the Soviets. So essentially, what goes on is that, as you can see, we're a few months in. Kerensky's already dead, even though in this mod apparently he can survive. There's a path where you can have Kerensky survive, but I don't like that, so I'm not gonna show it. It's just Kerensky becomes dictator. Essentially, it's pretty basic. So what happens is there's this Russian Duma mechanic, and once Kerensky dies, unless you call the Russian legislative elections, you're going to have a military coup, and you're going to have a military focus tree. But military dictatorship, where after that you can restore, obviously, the fucking Russian Empire, because of fucking course. But if you don't, you get this nice choice. You can choose between the socialists, the liberals, the conservatives, and the NRPR. Now, first of all, we're going to take a look at the democratic tree. So it's just pick randomly the Eurasianists. So you get the democratic tree loaded up. Now, I'll let you get a quick gander at this because it's pretty big. So as you can see, it goes all the way from the socialists to the Eurasianists. Although not the whatchamacallit, not the NRPR, who are the Savinkov people, the Nat Pops, because the Nat Pops have their own tree that's kind of, kind of insane, and we're going to take a look at it a little bit later. They've got their own special thing going on. So, hold on. Okay, so essentially this is the democratic tree, as you can see. Now, there are a ton of different parties, as you can see. I refer to my older Kaiserreich Russian politics explained to essentially get into the nitty-gritty of what these parties actually stand for. So like the Eurasianists actually is something that we didn't get touched on too much, but essentially they are... okay, so they were Russian emigres at the time of the Soviet Union, so people who had supported the white movement, who were like, yeah, because Russia's not part of the European civilization, and it's not part of the Asian civilization, it's part of the Eurasian civilization, and it's the only country that is Eurasian. Basically, that's the gist of it, and they were actually more pro-Soviet than most other political factions of Russian immigrants, because they essentially said, hey, the Soviet Union, it's not 100% the worst, although they weren't nearly as pro-Soviet as some other people that we're gonna see. So they said their whole thing is essentially they can form the Eurasian Union, although that's unfortunately not so, like, useful, because it's not like it allows you to, like, do expansionism any faster or anything like that. It's just like a cosmetic change, which is kind of sad, but whatever. Then you get the VNS, who are the Russian nationalists. And they're kind of like the Octobrists. They're constitutional monarchists, essentially. Although for some reason, they cannot restore the empire, which is kind of a weird thing. Then you have the PNS, who are the cadets. Now, the cadets were essentially... yeah, the party of Party of People's Freedom. Cadets were essentially the Russian liberals. So that's if you want to make it the mad cash. Oh, there you go. You got the referendum on the monarchy, of course. The PSR, the Socialist Revolutionaries, the SRs. Of course, these are the people who are trying to sort of continue the legacy of Kerensky. They are the right SRs. It's too complex. Go look at my Russian politics explained thing. It's gonna explain everything. Then you have the Mensheviks that can take over, of course. They are social democrats, essentially. And they can either do the twinkling social democracy, which, of course, leads to the parliamentary system, or the Menshevist Russia, which can also allow you to strengthen the trade unions, which essentially is the syndicalist-aligned social democratic government, which allows you to, if you want, restore the proletarian dictatorship. Now, the restore the proletarian dictatorship is also done through the NSP PLSR. Now, the NSP is the replacement for the Bolsheviks, essentially, in this rework. So they're the people led by Bulgarian, while the PLSR are the left socialist revolutionaries. Now, you may remember that the right socialist revolutionaries are way to the right here. They're social liberals. But the left social revolutionaries are super radical. That's just how the left SRs were. They were essentially massive agrarianist people. They do a bit of a popular front kind of thing. So if I get that election event back... oh, damn it. Shit. Fuck. I just kind of crashed it. Yeah. No. I don't want to... Okay. There we go. So, if I want, I can get the socialists in there. And if I pick the NSP, what's going to happen now? You get to form the cabinet of ministers. And if you pick a sufficient... yeah, there we go. If you pick a sufficient diversity of candidates, you get this event where, like, oh, we have the majority without the coalition. Or you can do the Popular Front government, which switches you over to Popular Front government, which basically means that you can pass everything really, really easily, although the Senate hates you. So essentially how the Duma works is that it's a bicameral system, although the Duma itself is the lower house. There's also a Senate. So the whole parliamentary system is essentially got two chambers. One is a chamber of deputies, the other is a Senate, and once you're finished with your cabinet stuff, you get a bunch of decisions to work with that. Now, if of course you are a funny party like the NSP, your goal is really to break this parliamentary system in the end. So, for example, you're gonna have something like this one. Oh no, the constitution forbids this. Oh no, how dare you. But essentially your whole idea is, hello, I am now the Russian Socialist Republic with the worst fucking flag ever. But I can survive. I'm gonna survive. I swear, even though I despise it. And that's the Soviets. Let's get them out of the way first, because they're, obviously something that a lot of people are going to be looking forward to. So it's a bit of a Soviet rework. It's not that insane, but it's nice. So essentially, you've got a whole army tree where you can either go the Red Guards or the Red Army. Obviously, Revoyen Soviet, the Revolutionary Military Council, which everyone loves. The Cheka, all these things, the fucking requisitioning. The Second Red Army, of course. Tukhachevsky's reform plan, of course. Now, obviously, a big part of the Soviets is how you're going to be spreading the revolution, which is a bit like how it's very, very similar to the Republic's foreign policy expansion sort of route. So it's not really all that difficult to really comprehend. No, we don't need to get into that. So there's basically a few main paths. One is the party authority. One is the chairman's authority, which is essentially the difference between, for some reason, you can have the Mensheviks still. The right communists, who are essentially market socialists, quote unquote, with 7 million quotes. These are the people who, in the aftermath of the October Revolution, essentially want to sort of slow down on the whole international activities of Soviet Russia to focus more on developing the domestic economy through a mixed economy, essentially through the NEP, the new economic policy, which is what eventually gets passed, but essentially they want to leave sort of small capitalism its own autonomous sphere, and then have big strategic industries be controlled by the state. So this leads to strengthen the party, although strengthen the party can also be done if you have the Desists elected, who are essentially the Bolshevik center kind of thing. That they're into democratic centralism, which is a weird concept of you vote on shit, but once shit is voted on, basically everyone has to follow it, which is how the Bolshevik party functioned. Or you can have the VKPS leadership. Now, I have no idea what the fuck that is, but that can lead to strengthen the party or strengthen the chairman. Or you can have just the Bolsheviks victorious. Now, in here, the Bolsheviks, I believe, are supposed to represent the more left wing of the Bolsheviks, the more left commie people. Who were essentially the people who were going yes, we need to just basically spread the revolution by any means necessary. Just very, very, very basically. So that's all about collectivization and forced industrialization. It's more more quote unquote Trotskyist, while this is more quote unquote Bukharian route, with the strengthen the party, fight the bureaucratization. So that's basically that. Or you can have, if so this is how, if the Popular Front restores socialism, some other like way this can happen. Zhukov restores socialism. Now Zhukov, of course, is a general. I wonder if oh wait, what? Oh yeah, right, the game is kind of bugged because I'm doing stupid shit, so I cannot actually see. So there he basically goes full like kind of Stalin-y kind of thing, and he becomes Marshal of Victory, of course. So that's all about the war communism kind of stuff. You know what's also all about communism? The dictatorship of Tukhachevsky. Now I'm not sure how you get this, but it's pretty based because you get to kill everyone, which is always great. But what's even better is that you can do the world revolution, which I'm not sure what this event does, but it does give you less justification for war goals. I wonder if you get to just like justify on people instantly. You join the Internationale, though, I believe, because the Fourth Internationale is about essentially Zhukov. Or if the Congress, which is what happens that elects all these people, decided in one of its sessions to create the Fourth Internationale instead of joining the third one, which has a few different options. It's more focused on enlarging the socialist republic itself. Now, of course, you might also want to play as the right-wingers, the people on the other side. And that's what we're going to look at now. So the right wing in this is, well, there's the military coup. So there we go. Lavr Kornilov, the Russian military union. Ah, shit. It did not load the focus stream. That's a bit of a problem. That's kind of an annoying thing, you know. Fuck. Well, I'm kind of mad right now. Shit, I wanted to see this focus tree. I've never actually seen it, which kind of mad. Well, fuck me. Whatever. Is there supposed to be a second event? Oh yeah, there's rumors of a plot, of course. This is Zhukov. This is the Zhukov coup, which, of course, you can avoid. Oh, maybe it's gonna... Oh, come on. There we go. Okay. That's how we do it. So that's that. So Kornilov restores control. And that's... Kornilov is proclaimed the supreme ruler of Russia. Of fucking course. So that's... right. That's like basically, you know, full-on, just like military dictatorship. Anyway, if we want to go back with the other types of right-wingers, aka the NatPops. So you have the Eurasianists who are Dems, and you saw them. the ROVS, who are pat out, the military, and you saw them, or the NatPops, the NRPR. Now, of course, we still have that Kornilov focus tree, but it's pretty easily dealt with. Now, how you deal with that is that there's a massive, like, power struggle after you elect the NRPR, which, how this can go depends on two things, because Kerensky, when he's killed by a dude called, I don't remember his stupid-ass name. Shit, where the hell is he? It's got the Gargulov. This dude called Gargulov. He's Pol Pot, basically. Just imagine he's Pol Pot, and he will be explained in a little bit. So Pol Pot tries to kill Kerensky. He succeeds. You can kill him. You can kill Gargulov, and Pol Pot dead. If Pol Pot not dead, he can take over, because he's an ally of Savinkov, he's a NatPop. Now, if Savinkov wins the power struggle, you have that he's proclaimed the Vajd, of course, and now he's Hitler, essentially. And now, oh my god, look at that color, dark green. That's not gonna lie, I love this color, especially with how the units look. And you switch the flag, of course, to the Russian state flag, this is basically like normal Savinkov focus tree. It's just what you'd expect. And at the end, of course, some nice salutes, of course. That everyone loves this. Of course. And Slava, Slava, Slava. Yes, of course. Yeah, that's basically about it. That's Savinkov. He's fun. He's pretty based. If you don't want fun, and also you don't want people wearing glasses, you can have this. Now, Savinkov is murdered, and there are two choices. Either the Green Army takes over. Now, the Green Army was this thing, the Green Armies, plural, was this thing in the Russian Civil War that was essentially a peasant revolt. Just to like very, very, very quickly summarize that. It was very late in the Civil War, and it was against mostly the Reds. So essentially they were labeled as reactionaries. Now, some of them were followers essentially of the SRs, of the original SRs. So essentially like agrarian populists. While these guys that we have in here... Oh, I clicked on the wrong fucking thing. This is what happens if the Greens lose. You can have Vlasov take over with the Solidarists, which are essentially like national syndicalism, basically. Yeah, everyone loves this stuff. Or the Silaviki, Abakumov. Now, this is essentially just like the military taking over literally everything. And you have the Great Purge and, yeah, that's basically just like, yeah, just what you'd expect. Now, if we want to get that event back up, god damn it. I'm really breaking the game with this. The social liberals are back. Of course. Now, if Gargulov secures his power, you switch to this lovely flag. Just fucking amazing. Now, unfortunately... unfortunately, the leader is Viktor Chornov. Fucking whatever. Because I broke the game, essentially. But... The all-Russian People's Peasant Party of the Greens. So this is basically what happens. And... yeah, let's just say that it's bad. Now, if I... Nah, whatever. This is pretty bad. Like, this is just not fun, essentially. Why is it not fun? Because... kill everyone. Haha, funny windmills. More funny windmills. neo-paganism, you know, Gorgulov is literally the Messiah and all that. And funny tiki torches and funny salutes. And then, like, this the Vaj speaks is like, let's go, like, invade the world and destroy industrial civilization. Russian ethno-state, of course. Basically, it's like, again, it's Pol Pot. Except he's in Russia, so he's even more insane. Yeah. That's pretty nice. So that's basically Russia. I don't really think there's, like, much more. Like, obviously, there's more, like, monarchist paths, but nobody fucking cares. Now, another funny country is Transamur. As I already said, that's been reworked a little bit. So, obviously, Kolchak is doing his own thing. And, you know, he can take over the new Russia and all that, and then take over everything. And be funny Kolchak as normal. Or you can have the anti-Kolchak coup succeed. Even the Czech Legion can seize power. Which I think would be pretty hilarious. Eastern Czechoslovakia, although I've never seen it happen and I don't really know exactly how it works. There's, of course, a fucking Russian Empire path, because why the fuck not? Essentially, you can have a democracy, but it's kind of boring, although you can do Greater Siberia, essentially, as the Mensheviks, and the SR Menshevik coalition. So that's pretty nice. What the hell is this? I have no idea. And another party that can take over are the Mariaki, essentially the fleet, essentially. And yeah, that's just like, you know, just literally fucking navy stuff. You can obviously have the Yui Mitsue, the Japanese lapdog. Give Usuri to Fengtian, of course. Japanese colony or Japanese annexation. Interesting. The rising sun of Russia, nice. Or you can even have Ataman Semyonov take over. This was the Cossack leader of the sort of the Trans-Siberian Railway, and he's pretty based because he can he's like the Cossack state kind of thing. It's kind of dumb that he cannot restore the Russian Empire because he was pretty much a monarchist, but whatever. The new Far Eastern Republic, the Eastern Ukraina, so based, so epic. You can either have the NRA, which are essentially like the National Republican Army kind of thing, and they are pro-Soviet. They can have a Soviet Far Eastern Republic, which is something that actually did exist in real life. Ban the church, love it. You can become the last bastion of Bolshevism if there's no one else that's compatibly socialist in the world, or in Russia, or you can join, of course, bigger Russia if you so desire. Now, the real funny path, though, is down here, of course, the Mladorossi, the funny, like, Nazbol people. Yeah, this is like base. These people want to have both the Russian Empire and the Soviets. Yes, they are essentially Russian interwar fascists. Who had again this kind of weird ideology of like synthesis between the USSR and the Russian Empire. This was super funny. Like, not gonna lie, this is, when I first read about this, it was hilarious. But like now, every Hearts of Iron 4 mod is talking about this, and I feel like I was the OG, you know, to talk about the Mladorossi all the way, essentially in the first like Kaiserreich, you know, sort of Russia Explained stuff I was doing, even in the TNO Russia Explained stuff, I was talking about these guys, and now fucking everyone's, you know, coming in with the Mladorossi now. These guys are Eurasianists as well, kind of. So they obviously want, just like take over everything. Now they have 3 possible alliances, which is sort of representing of how they had the synthesis of a lot of different ideas. They were pretty syncretic. They can do just the Eurasianists, and you saw them, the paternal autocrats from normal Russia. So obviously that's all about sort of the shared destiny of Russia and Asia and all that. Now the Nationalisti over here are essentially if you've played TNO, Amur, the Russian Nazi warlord with the swastika, Konstantin Radzaevsky, essentially the Russian fascist party of, real life, except there's no fascists in Kaiserreich, so it's the nationalists. And instead of the, Nazi swastika, they have the funny Slavic windmill, and, please no. Just like, please no. Like, you thought that it was bad enough when these guys added the Ride the Tiger of Evola. But no, it's even worse. Believe me, Radzaevsky, not a fun person. Just like, not fun. Anyway, funny neon swastika people aside, you can also ally the Smirnov Vyekhovtsi, who are this super obscure Russian interwar group. That were essentially Smena Vyekhovsky just like means like the epoch changers, like Vyek in Russian means the century. Basically, just like those who are keeping up with the times, I suppose. And Smienit just means to change. So these people under this person called Ustrialov were essentially like, okay, the Mladorossi are just epic, but the Mladorossi are in favor of adopting the Soviet policies in general, right? And the Soviet political system. But, like, they want corporatism, essentially. Like, the Mladorossi essentially wanted corporatism, which is why I said that they're Russian fascists. With the Soviets acting a bit like, again, corporative organs. Well, the Smirnovyhovtsi are like, let's take that up 700 million to a notch and have full-on sort of state capitalism, full-on planned economy, except with the Russian Empire. So that's why they have the funny Nazbol flag. They're basically kind of Nazbol-y, except actually the Nazbols IRL don't want the Russian Empire, but okay, whatever. So yeah, these guys are hilarious, essentially. Yeah, that's... Also, Revolution of the Spirit is a citation from D'Annunzio, who was the funny person in Fiume. Oh, there's also a thing for... I think there's also Hungary. Yeah, they added a Hungary tree, but I literally don't have time to look at it. Just super sad. Is this social democracy? I don't know. It's Red Hungary. Wait, this actually... No. This has been... No. This has been there since the beginning. What they added is an Illyria thing. They added a bunch of things to Illyria, but yeah, this is kind of complex because the Austrian Empire needs to explode, and that's not something that happens every time. But they've added other things to now. This is basically Russia. They've also sort of reworked the Alash Orda and a bit of the Donkoban Union, although the Donkoban Union still has the normal focus tree. They can now explode into like 5 parts, which is pretty based. And they've also reworked Mongolia. Now, Mongolia basically has been reverted to the old Mongolia where, like, you know, Sternberg can actually be Genghis Khan too. Except with a little bit more spice and sort of meme flavor to it. Of course, few peace windmills as well. Where are the peace windmills? Because, of course, Buddhism uses the windmill symbol. Where the hell is it? Yeah, there we go. The Pact of Eurasian Brotherhood, of course. Yeah, this art, look at this art. It's just so good. It's just so insane. It's epic. But basically the focus tree is exactly what you'd expect from the old Mongolian, Second Mongolian Empire. That's about it. Now, Orda, on the other hand, essentially has free paths, so they can either be Kazakhization, essentially more power to the native Kazakhs, and try to either unite the Central Asians or confront Turkestan, or they can be Russia simps, essentially, and get integrated by Russia. Or there's an even third option, which is a Cossack takeover by Ataman Dutov. Now, we don't have time to explain the Cossacks, of course, but I think most of you by now know what the fuck these guys are. Of course, another Cossack state is the Don Kuban Union, and another state where the Cossacks have a lot of influence is the Far Eastern Republic. So what essentially they are proposing is a sort of step alliance of Cossacks, so like approach the Don Kuban Union and the Vladivostok regime against Russia, essentially. So essentially, they try to make a tripartite invasion of Russia, and they instead of the Alash Orda, they're known as the Orenburg Cossack Host. Now, for some reason, they're called the Orenburg Cossack Host, even though Orenburg is part of Russia. Of course, this is because wait, they own this at the start. Interesting. Now, this is, of course, because essentially the Cossacks that were operating in Central Asia at the time of the Russian Empire were known as the Orenburg Host, because they were coming from the fortress of Orenburg, which for a long time was the main bastion of Russian rule in sort of this area until the Russians expanded to here, which later became Tashkent. But the host was always known as the Orenburg Host, much like the Don Host, the Terek, the Don Host being like around here, the Volga Host being around here, and the Terek Host being down here. Also the Zaporozhian Host being around here, and the sort of Baikal Host being around Lake Baikal. So that's basically all the Cossack subdivisions and why there's so many Cossacks in Kaiserreich. Now, there are also non-Russian people who have been reworked. Now, the Ottoman Empire, for some reason, now has this path where the German military mission can take over. And essentially, they're German simps. Who would have thunk it? And at the end, of course, Wilhelm II becomes the Sultan. I don't know. I'm sorry. I don't. Why? It's a funny meme. I mean, it's basically there for, like, funny laughs. If, like, the Ottomans do particularly poorly in a game. But whatever. There's also two other paths that are very, very based. One is Serbia, where they can have their own nice, like, insane nat pop path, which are the Chornaya Ruka, or Chernaya Ruka. I don't know how to say it exactly in Serbian. The Black Hand. These are the people who you may remember, when the funny Archduke was killed in Sarajevo, and all those things happened in 1914. Yeah, the Chornaya Ruka, or Chernaya Ruka, or whatever the fuck, the Black Hand, were the terrorist group that was responsible for that. So essentially, this is a terrorist organization that's about Greater Serbia. And, they're all about sort of massive mobilization now. They can either have the Black General take over as a voivode. Essentially, voivode is like a military dictator, military ruler. In like Slavic political lingo. And so it's kind of like the Serbian way of going, like, you know, Führer or whatever. Or you can have the Zbor take over under Dmitry Ljotic. Now, this is a guy who in real life was a German collaborator, and the Zbor was a fascist Serbian ultra-nationalist party. So, yeah, fun. Obviously, the Black General is a lot cooler, because this bot in real life were just like really, really uncool. And obviously what you're meant to do in this path is go down the Congress of Belgrade and proclaim Greater Serbia to, you know, make the Greater Serbian Empire proud. Now, there's also another funny path that's for Bulgaria. You might be saying, how the fuck can Bulgaria have a hilarious path? Well, now, you may remember, you may know, and you may remember, if you know, that Bulgaria in real life was essentially created by a bunch of steppe nomads known as the Bulgars, who came down into the by now already Slavically inhabited lands of what is going to become Bulgaria. And essentially these people were Turkic, right? And they took over this Slavic/Greek territory because, you know, the Byzantine Empire. And they created something called the Bulgarian Empire, which almost destroyed the Byzantine Empire, but then basically fell eventually. Then, you know, after a period, there was something called the Second Bulgarian Empire. By now, this was a bit different because the Bulgars, the Turkic people who had come down and created the first Bulgarian Empire, had by now basically become sort of half Turkic, half Slavic, because essentially they were ruling as a nomadic warrior elite, which then sort of assimilated into the culture of the majority Slavic population. Slowly but surely. And that's how modern Bulgaria is a Slavic country. And Bulgarian is a Slavic language. And why these people are calling themselves Tsars. Because then, after a while, they're like, oh yeah, right, these Greek people are kind of funny. Let's adopt their words. So instead of Caesar, it's Tsar. And instead of being like a Khanate, we're gonna essentially try to take over the Byzantine Empire. Which is a very, very, like, simply, like, condensing, like, 400 years of this area's history. Now, this person over here, this funny man with the Zveno, Gayaz Ishaki, is like, civilization was a mistake, or I guess not, like, settled civilization was a mistake. And Slavic Bulgaria was a mistake. We should, like, return to our roots. Not Bulgarians, Bulgars. Now, the Bulgars used to live in this area, which was known as Volga, Bulgaria. You know about it if you played CK2. And then they eventually emigrated south. And what they're, like, all about, the Bulgarists, is like, let's retake over, like, all of this. And be a steppe, like, rule the steppes again. Based or something, I don't know. They've got the modern feudalism, of course. They're just, like, basically all about, like, you know, reject modernity, return to tradition, you know, kill everyone. Even return to Tengri, I suppose. I love Tengri. I do love me some Lost Hungary. And yeah, that's basically... I don't know. Yeah. Then you can retake over everything. The rebirth of Kubrat. Long live the Bulgar Khanate, the great Bulgarian Khanate. I love it. So that's... I don't know. You judge for yourself how base this is. Anyway, this is basically about it. So, yeah. Of course, as always, if I forgot to include the link to the mod, kill me. But yeah, other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed, and I'll see you soon.